The desert is a world of extremes. We often fixate on the scorching sun and the relentless heat, but in this unforgiving landscape, a different, more volatile force holds the power to destroy everything in its path: the wind. It arrives not with a sound, but as a feeling in the air, a sudden shift in pressure that can transform from a gentle breeze into a monstrous gale in mere moments. These are not the whimsical winds of a temperate climate. They are the desert's furies, carrying millions of sharp sand grains that can sandblast a rock smooth or tear a flimsy structure to shreds. For a people whose survival depended on mobility, this posed an existential threat. They could not build permanent, heavy structures. Their homes had to be light enough to be packed onto a camel's back, yet strong enough to defy a force of nature. A mistake in engineering meant not just discomfort, but the loss of shelter, possessions, and even life itself. The Bedouins, however, never saw the wind as a simple force to be fought. They understood its immense power, and, with centuries of inherited wisdom, they learned how to work with it, how to turn its strength against itself. Their tents were not designed to be rigid walls that would snap under pressure, but rather flexible, living things that could dance with the storm. This was a form of architectural genius that predated modern materials science by millennia. The challenge was multifaceted. The tent had to be wind-resistant from all angles, adaptable to changing wind direction, and capable of withstanding both quick, violent gusts and prolonged, steady gales. The very notion of building a portable home that could stand against such a force was audacious. Yet, they did it, and the success of their design lies in its profound simplicity and its elegant alliance with the laws of physics. They didn't just build a shelter. They built a breathing, living fortress of fiber and tension, a sanctuary of calm at the heart of the storm. The Bedouin tent, known in Arabic as Beit al-Sha'ir, or the House of Hair, is a testament to this philosophy. Its primary material, hand-woven panels of black goat hair, was not chosen for comfort or aesthetics, but for its unique and surprising properties. At first glance, the fabric appears coarse and loosely woven, full of tiny gaps. One might assume this would make it useless against the elements, but that is precisely where its genius lies. When the wind slams into a solid object, it creates a point of immense pressure that can lead to a catastrophic failure. The goat hair fabric, however, is not solid. Those small gaps, deliberately left in the weave, allow air to pass through. This porosity disperses the force of the wind, reducing the pressure on the tent's surface. Instead of a single, destructive slam, the force is broken into countless small currents, gently passing through the fabric. It is the difference between a wave crashing on a rigid seawall and a wave dissipating through a permeable rock barrier. The tent yields just enough to survive, bending with the storm instead of breaking. The very nature of the goat hair itself contributes to this resilience. Unlike rigid, synthetic materials, the individual fibers have a remarkable tensile strength and flexibility. The coarse, strong hairs are spun into durable threads, which are then woven into panels. These panels are not a single, seamless sheet, but are sewn together. This modular design has two key benefits. First, it allows the tent to be easily repaired. A damaged panel can be replaced without dismantling the entire structure. Second, the seams themselves act as a kind of stress joint. When the wind pulls on the fabric, the entire structure doesn't bear the load equally. The seams can flex and shift, distributing the tension and preventing any one part from being stretched to its breaking point. This is an ancient application of what modern engineers call tensile architecture, where a structure's stability comes not from rigidity, but from the balanced tension of its components. The result is a tent that is not just a passive object, but an active partner in its own survival. It is a masterpiece of dynamic engineering, a simple yet perfect solution honed by 1,000 years of life in a land where the wind shows no mercy. A tent, no matter how clever its material, is only as secure as its connection to the earth. The Bedouins knew this intrinsically, and their anchoring system was not a simple matter of hammering a few stakes into the ground. It was a sophisticated, meticulous art form, a complex web of tension and counter-tension that turned the tent into a low-slung, unshakable structure. The main support of the tent came from a series of central poles, but these poles alone were insufficient. The real strength lay in the intricate network of ropes and pegs that radiated from the tent's perimeter. These ropes, often made from strong, braided materials like hemp, wool, or goat hair, were a testament to their engineering foresight. The key was the distribution of force. Instead of a few thick ropes, the Bedouins used numerous smaller ropes, each tied to a peg. This practice was critical because it spread the stress of the wind across dozens of points rather than concentrating it on just a few. If a single peg were to come loose, or if the ground beneath it were to soften, the dozens of other anchors would hold the structure firm. Each rope was angled not straight down but outward, creating a broader, more stable base. This created a tension that pulled the tent both down and out, making it remarkably resistant to lifting and lateral forces. In the soft desert sand, a standard peg would simply pull out. The Bedouins had a solution for this, a technique that was both simple and brilliant. They would tie ropes to bundles of brushwood, large rocks, or sacks filled with sand, and then bury these objects deep beneath the surface. This created a hidden anchor, a dead man's tie-down that had a much larger surface area to resist being pulled up. The sand itself, when compacted around the buried object, became an ally in their struggle against the wind. It was a form of ingenuity that turned the very ground that threatened to give way into a partner in stability. This was not a temporary fix. It was a permanent, reliable method that had been proven over generations. The Bedouins' mastery of ropes and tension was not just a practical skill. It was a form of physical discipline, a silent conversation with the earth that ensured their safety in the most violent of storms. The final and most critical layer of defense was not a piece of fabric or a rope, but an ancient, intuitive knowledge of the land itself. A Bedouin could read the desert like a book, understanding its subtle shifts and hidden dangers. The decision of where to pitch a tent was never random. It was a calculated act of survival. A true master would never set up camp on a flat, open plain where the wind could slam into the structure with full force. Instead, they would seek out natural windbreaks. The lee side of a large sand dune, the base of a rock outcropping, or a shallow depression in the ground became their natural fortress walls. These formations served to deflect the wind's most powerful gusts, creating a pocket of relative calm where the tent could stand secure. Their mastery of the environment extended to understanding the prevailing wind patterns. They knew which direction the seasonal winds would come from and would orient the tent's opening away from that direction. This reduced the surface area directly exposed to the wind's full force and prevented sand from being funneled into the living space. The tents themselves were designed with this in mind, with modular flaps that could be raised or lowered to adjust ventilation and to further streamline the structure against the wind. It was an application of aerodynamics learned not from textbooks, but from living in and observing the desert for centuries. This deep connection to the environment also meant they could predict a storm long before it arrived. They would observe the behavior of animals, the shift in the air's temperature, and the color of the horizon. They could feel the subtle changes that signaled an approaching storm and would use that time to reinforce their anchoring system, tighten their ropes, and prepare the camp. This preemptive action was a hallmark of their survival strategy. They never waited for disaster to strike. The Bedouins' home was a direct extension of their body and mind, a living structure that was a testament to their patience, their wisdom, and their profound respect for the wild, untamable heart of the desert.